Here at this school, we've been really exploring how brain research has an impact and implication on how we as teachers teach and how children learn. Thanks to the leadership of Junior School Principal Mike Walker, we were able to host a Learning and Brain conference of our own here on this campus.
What we're trying to do right now, and what's happened in the educational world in the last 5 years, is to build the bridge between what the researchers are doing in the labs and what the teachers are doing in the classroom. And that's what the Brain Symposium is all about. We're trying to build the bridge between the science of the laboratory and the practical application to the classrooms. I have been interested in this for several years now. Albuquerque Academy was hosting their own small-scale conference in the summer on neurological research. And it's where I met Frank Cross, who was compelling, and it was transformational. We started to think about how we could bring that to not only Punahou, but to bring it to Hawaii and share it with our educational colleagues in both the public and private system. We invited Frank Cross, and I think our classroom teachers really started to think about not just the content they're teaching, but how we really actually have to begin our teaching with a fundamental understanding of how the human brain learns.
This past year, we were able to really think about this possibly being an annual conference. There's a lot of momentum, and we were able to launch Brain Symposium 2011 here on this campus this summer.
Because we felt so good about that first Brain Symposium, we invited Dr. David Eagleman, and he was a compelling, engaging, enlightening speaker. He, on the one hand, is a scientist, is a researcher, and his credibility as a researcher is impeccable. At the same time, he is a teacher, and when you are with him and when you're in his sessions, that's what you feel.
I think there are several ways that teachers can use brain research to help them teach better. One of them is by looking at how the digital brain is different from the kind of brain they grew up on. Things have changed a lot in terms of the technologies that children grow up on, and that changed the way that teachers need to address their students. So in terms of things like taking the best that video games have to offer, and also dealing with the way that kids are used to taking in information now. They also need to understand basic issues of brain science, like why sleep is important for the brain, and encourage their students to get good sleep practices, because that's what consolidates information. And finally, I think the important thing for teachers to do is to teach their children how to think creatively as opposed to merely regurgitating information for a test.
One of the pieces of the Brain Symposium that is a large part of what we do is making sure that it's not just the researcher that's kind of delivering all of this information. So we created these breakout sessions around the symposium. There's a number of teachers who are really interested in brain research and have applied it into their classroom and are totally willing to share with other educators.
The teachers hosting the breakout sessions is really an example of how this research is resonating with teachers. Their inclination and ability to lead those sessions is an example of both sort of the mastery that they're acquiring, but also their eagerness now to be a resource to their colleagues. And those sessions are, more engaging and dynamic and very participatory. It's a highlight of the conference.
Teachers are really starting to ask themselves, what more do I need to know about children in my classroom, their brain development, the brain research that is currently happening out there, and how that impacts how I teach and how the children learn. It really left the participants at the end of the two-day conference with a lot of questions, which is good because what Dr. Eagleman pointed to was questions then lead to greater conversations about this.
We've now had 2 summers of Brain Symposium, keynoted by credible, engaging, charismatic, knowledgeable speakers. So we thought we were ready for the next step. Brain Rules, written by John Medina, is a book that our faculty have read, and frankly, I've been recommending it to parents. So we just thought, let's ask Dr. Medina if he'd be interested in keynoting Punahou's 3rd Brain Symposium. So we wrote him a letter, and he's going to be here in June of 2012, which is tremendously exciting for us. With Dr. Medina, we want to open that up nationally and internationally, and really start to position Punahou as a resource for what the educational community is learning about neurology.